my list is the Russian Federation. I give the floor to the Russian Federation. You have the floor, madam.
Mr. President, we're grateful to the SRSG Gassim Wan for his briefing on the work of the UN Mission on Stabilization in Mali and the situation in this country, and also Madam Fatima Maigi for her comments. It's clear that the improvement of the situation in Mali and the implementation of the peace agreement, the elimination of terrorism, and the restoration of the socio-economic situation depends first and foremost on internal political stability. Political infighting, which has led to two acute crises over the past year, has hardly contributed to this. Now, we took note of the assurances of the new authorities that all commitments undertaken earlier regarding implementation of the transition period, including conducting the constitutional referendum and general democratic elections in the agreed, according to the agreed calendar, will be implemented. Much will depend on continuing dialogue among all interested parties in order to form public unity in the country and to restore the constitutional order as quickly as possible. We believe that stabilizing the situation in the country depends directly on the strict application by the transitional government and by the other political forces of the Algiers peace agreement. We expect that a constructive cooperation will continue with the signatory groups on implementing this agreement. We expect an acceleration of the process of disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration of former combatants, and the deployment of new units in the north of the country. Now, in tandem with this, public governance should be reformed and conditions should be created for the socio-economic rejuvenation of regions that have suffered, including the Northern Development Zone. The interests of all the population groups of the country, especially in its northern territories, should be taken into account. Now, the security situation remains very complex. Extremists continue to terrorize the local population. They continue to conduct attacks against units of the Malian armed forces, against UN peacekeepers, and against contingents of other international forces. The Malian armed forces and the blue helmets of the UN continue to suffer losses. Unfortunately, in spite of all mediation efforts, intercommunal clashes continue in the central region of the country, and these are provoked to a large extent by the activity of the extremists. We're extremely troubled by the situation in the border area between Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. In that area, a terrible terrorist attack aimed against peaceful citizens was recently carried out. Russia would like to express its condolences to the nations and governments of countries whose nationals die from the terrorist attacks in the region. We expect that the Malian authorities, as well as the authorities of neighboring states, will act even more decisively in eliminating terrorism in their countries. Now, we're very worried about the humanitarian situation. The number of people in need of food assistance, as well as IDPs, has increased significantly. All this requires the necessary reaction by the humanitarian agencies. It's important to take into account that the situation in Mali is a key factor of regional security. We expect that the Malian armed forces will continue to fully participate in the operations of the G5 Sahel Joint Force. And we also expect that the decisions of the West African states taken in 2021 and 2020 and 2021 on stepping up the fight against terrorism will be translated into practice. Now, the African Union Commission's idea of deploying in the Sahel region the African Standby Force certainly deserves detailed examination. Now, it is essential to continue to for continued cooperation and coordination between Bamako and MINUSMA. We welcome the assistance provided by MINUSMA to the G5 Sahel Joint Force, and we're ready to consider the modalities for expanding that support. We also support plans for adapting MINUSMA. It's clear that the priority tasks of the mission continue to be assisting in restoring the constitutional order, contributing to implementing the peace agreement, and strengthening security in the country. In this connection, the presence of MINUSMA continues to be a key factor in terms of future stabilization. At the same time, we believe that the leading role in overcoming existing difficulties belongs to the Malians themselves. Mr. President, regarding the peace process in Mali, our position has always been that there should be African solutions to African problems. In this context, we support the mediation efforts of ECOWAS and the African Union. At the same time, we believe that, in spite of the divergent views that exist, in the current situation, it would be irresponsible to abandon Mali to fend for itself, including by reducing military and economic assistance to the country. The stakes in terms of security in Mali and the region are too high. We'd like to confirm our readiness to closely cooperate with all international actors in order to stabilize the situation in Mali and the region as a whole. Thank you very much.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation for her statement.